you know? The arguments, I've been, on YouTube for a couple years now, and I just don't find their arguments compelling. It doesn't, resonate with me in any way, and it doesn't seem very rational. Their arguments don't seem rational at all. Arguments don't seem rational at all. I mean, they're so fond of the scientific method, but how matter came about is a completely non-scientific way. Something becoming something from nothing goes against science. Goes against science, and that's not rational thinking. That's not being consistent here. And life coming from non-life. This is just a huge question that they just completely ignore.
Isn't this funny? They're actually calling they're actually saying that evolution. What do they think? Do they think creationism is science? Why does he keep talking about science like it has anything to do with his little myth? I
mean, that goes against science as well. They can't account for morality, knowledge, creation, like I said. Logic. It's just, what's the use even engaging with these folks, because they're so illogical, they're so irrational, and I think I've been contemplating just unplugging the atheists, because they got nothing at all.
Well, I wish I could say I disagree with you.
Oh, come on.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Before we can even discuss evolution, and it's... Okay, good. Before we can even discuss the plausibility of evolution, I would just like to know, why is there something instead of nothing?
Sure.
That's the question I want any atheist to answer. Why is there something instead of nothing? Before we talk about how fish became philosophers, why is there something instead of nothing? Never mind how we went from the goo to the zoo to you. Why is there something instead of nothing? How do you account for information? Information coming from non-information. Can you give me one example using the scientific method where that's ever been demonstrated to be able to happen?
So Matthew4Nineteen is talking about, before we mull over the plausibility of evolution, it's like you've got two guys. Neither one of them are very, very educated on the subject of evolution, because all they look at is creationism, and there's nothing else. There's no other possible explanation. They don't even entertain the thought, really, of there being any other explanation. It's, of course, all, God did everything, and everything else, to even consider anything else is silly. So hearing Matthew4Nineteen going, well, before we talk about the plausibility of evolution, I don't really care if you don't think it's plausible. The fact is, it's evident. It's got evidence, mountains of evidence supporting it, and it's evident all around us. It's evident in the animal species we see. It's evident in the changes we see in our own physicality, if that's the word. It's evident in the evolution of our technology. Evolution is a natural thing. I'm surprised we don't call it a law, like we call the law of gravity. I'm surprised evolution isn't a law. It should be. You know, it's clearly one of the basic things. But anyway, and then his Matthew4Nineteen's other thing is, I would like to just have one atheist tell me, why is there something instead of nothing? Well, I don't think there was ever nothing. I think there was always some kind of energy, whatever, some kind of crude matter, energy, whatever. I mean, there was a time beyond imagining, trying to imagine. Oh, God, now I can't talk. Sorry, I had 2 hours of sleep last night. Honestly, if I seem a little incoherent, I had somebody break into my house last night. I called the police. It was like 11:30 at night. I was wide awake after that for the rest of the night. And then I just worked a day, my normal day at work. So my brain is mush. It's all not exactly farming words right. Now I forgot where I was with what I was saying. Oh, I think before there was a universe, I mean, we're talking about not the universe we're in, or the universe that came before that, or the universe that came before that, or whatever it is, this ocean that our universe is part of, but maybe just one of many, you know, like galaxies exist inside of a universe. I'm not altogether, you know, certain that there's not something beyond the universe. I think there might be universes that exist inside something even bigger than universes. So how far do you want to go? You know, we're so incredibly small and insignificant. But anyway, before the very first of whatever that is called was, what was there? You know, there are things we just will never know. You know, even if we figure out what existed before the universe, which I think is probably, you know, I think one universe dies and another one is born from the force of the death of the first. I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I don't sit around trying to think of the plausibility of evolution because I'm not a scientist. But I do know a little bit about fossils, and I know a little bit about what my eyes tell me with looking at species and changes in species. There are snakes. I don't want to go through this again. There's evidence for earlier forms of animals and modern forms, you know, throwbacks, if you will. But anyway, so it just seems funny to me hearing these two guys that are so focused on creationism talking about the plausibility of evolution, like they have even remotely the capacity to judge the plausibility of evolution. They're not scientists. I wouldn't try to judge it. It's, from what I've seen, from what I've observed, from what I've read about, there's enough evidence to convince me that it's true. Evidence being the key word again. And that's enough for me. Evidence makes me think it's as likely as we've found yet to be true. And that's enough for me. So anyway, I saw this little clip from this other, I'll put the link below, this other video that I watched last night that, again, my brain is mush, so I can't put words together right now. And I've been thinking about it, and I wanted to put together this video to comment on some of the points these two make. It gets really old. You know, I wish they would unplug. But Christians will never unplug because they are compelled. They are what Great Commission to go out and shove this down other people's throats. It's part of the religion. That's their job, to go out and shove this down people's throats. So I'm sorry. I wish they would unplug and leave atheists the hell alone, you know? But they don't, and they never will. So anyway, I'm sorry that, you know, you guys are so frustrated by how unreasonable you are, but guess what? Believing in something when there's no evidence whatsoever to show it exists seems pretty unreasonable to me. So you should really not point fingers at other people when you're being incredibly unreasonable yourself. So anyway, that's it. End of video. Thanks for watching.
22:18, which orders witches to be killed. Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live. And not only do you have to kill them, you have to believe in them first. And don't laugh, because this one short verse caused the torture and execution of thousands and thousands of innocent people in the Middle Ages. and the book it comes from has caused the death of millions of savages and non-believers. Thou shalt not kill, but kill, 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 you say? Which is it? How anybody can possibly reconcile this glaring disparity, as bright as the sun, is beyond comprehension. How can any sane person think this is the best a wise, all-knowing, loving God could come up with? And don't forget, we're talking about the same God who destroyed every living thing on earth, all innocent life, including every fetus, simply to correct his own design flaws. So when you hear someone say that only books like the Bible give humanity its moral compass, and that atheists and non-believers can't justify or explain where their morals come from, cite these verses to them. Ask them how many witches they've burned lately, or how many people they've killed for working on Sunday, or if they had their wife stoned to death because she wasn't a virgin when they got married. Ask them how any of these ghastly things are moral, and try not to laugh while they struggle for an answer. Ask them how they can claim the moral high ground when they aren't following God's orders to the letter in the infallible book He wrote. Ask them how an infallible holy book that orders you not to kill and then to kill for petty, ridiculous reasons at the same time can be infallible. And tell them to take their holier-than-thou attitude and cram it up their ignorant, sanctimonious ass.